Any question?
Doctor, is the test going to be online or in face-to-face class?
So that's why I said I'm going to discuss with the admin if they can provide me, very conducive class and so on. So most probably the test also will be face to face. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Thank you for asking, Esther. Right. So what else? Okay. So at 9:30, all right, we are going to have our first quiz online. Okay, but to be honest, I don't really like these online quizzes and also tests. So the next quiz will be something different. So it will be, online e-learning. Okay, because sometimes e-learning is not reliable and so on. So I'm going to make it some other different approach. Even it is, online, but maybe not through e-learning. So I'll let you know. Okay, in after the test, we are going to have another quiz again. All right. So let's continue what we have stopped in our previous session. Okay, so we have learned in terms of, okay, let me share first. Right. Okay, what we have learned on last Sunday is actually a very crucial concept, a very crucial foundation where you need to use it, for your chapter 8 onwards. Either you use it manually or you use SPSS as a part of your analysis, right? So that one we call it as hypothesis testing, right? So remember the hypothesis. When I say hypothesis, you must know that starting from today, all right? So hypothesis has two types of hypothesis. The first one, I call it as H null, or sometimes I call it as H naught. Naught means nothing, all right? So H naught or H null, and also we have HA, right? So basically, so when we write the hypothesis, usually we just write H, O, right? Or null, right? And then we put semicolon to actually to define what is our H naught, where the semicolon you can read it as is, or in Bahasa Malaysia you can see adalah, all right? So H naught, and then we always test. What we are testing is actually the parameter called mu, right? So the mu followed by equal sign, and then anything, it depends on the question. So your H naught is, right, mu, you want to test the mu, remember, we want to estimate the real mu from the population, okay, equal something, right? And then our HA is hypothesis aku, or alternative, okay, again, is mu, right? So not equal sign, greater than or less than, right? So which one we need to use? Either different, greater than or less than. It all depends on the question given, right? So you need to look for clue words, right? So let's say in the question it says different, then you know that you need to use this symbol or this equation, right? So, and then it depends again the questions or whatever asked by the question in the book or in the test or whatever, right? So this one, this part right here should be the same, right? Because we are testing about something similar, but the difference is only the symbols used here, right? So that is the first concept that you need to understand, right? How to write your hypothesis, right? The second one is where you need to decide whether you need to use one or two-sided test. Okay. So when I say you need to decide and you need to determine, okay, which test you need to use, either one tail or two tail. So it all depends on your HA, right? So your HA again can be not equal sign greater than or less than, right? If your HA contains, okay, this symbol, not equal sign or different, then it means it's going to be two-tail test, right? So what does it mean by two-tail? So the tail, right and left, okay, has the error part, okay, the rejection region, right? So that's what we call it as tail, two-tail. And then for greater than, right? So we have the tail that we need to shade will be only on the right side to show it is greater than, is bigger or greater than 0. And then for the less than, right? So the area that we need to use or we need to shade is actually the left tail, right? Like this, one tail. So this is the concept that you need to understand. And also regarding the alpha, remember we discussed about alpha. Alpha is actually the error or the rejection region. So if we have two tail, okay, the error is alpha, all right? So I put it here, okay, our error, we call it as alpha, right? So if the alpha here, right? So in this case, okay, we have here alpha, here also alpha, okay. But because of the two tail, so it means that the alpha need to be shared by the right and the left tail. So the alpha need to be divided by 2, okay? Because half alpha plus half alpha is going to be alpha, right? So the total of the error should be alpha. So is everybody okay? Do you understand this, right? So if you don't understand, this foundation, these basic things, so it's going to be very, very hard for you because we are going to use hypothesis tests all the way until our last week of this class, all right? So, and then especially it is very important for you to answer your final exam. So basically your final exam, it can be answered manually, either manually or from the SPSS output. But usually what I'm going to do, okay, for the final exam, I'm going to focus more on the SPSS rather than calculate it manually, right? Okay, so let's continue the next one, right? So after you have understood, all right, what happened, what need to be done, what is actually how to write the hypothesis, and also what is actually one and two tail test. Okay, then it comes to this part right here, the 6 steps of hypothesis testing, right? So this one will be actually on page 84 in your book. Sorry, 83. So I would like you to put notes, okay, in wherever you see blank space, okay, in blank, so you can write some of the additional notes on that page, right? So the 6 steps, right? This one, if we calculate it manually, right? So if we calculate manually, so we need to follow these 6 steps, right? So the first thing, what are the assumptions? So the assumptions, it depends, okay? Right after this, I will introduce to you a little bit on chapter 8, right? So the assumptions, you need to write the distribution. So you have learned how to write the distribution. For example, in our case, we can write it as x, okay? We start with x mu sigma square, right? So, and then we have, if we have n, remember, because we are doing inferential statistics, so we are using sample. So we are going to have mean sampling distribution where we have the mean for this for the sample, and then the sigma for the sample square. Remember, this value will be the same, right? So what you need to do, you just need to calculate, you need to determine the value of sigma for the sample based on the sigma of the population, right? Right, so that's the first step that you need to do for any questions given to you, right? So, and then the next one, you need to state the H naught and also HA. So you already know your H naught will be mu equal something, whereas your HA will be mu not equal sign greater than or less than. So you need to, again, identify what is the best equation symbols, okay, need to be used for your HA. And then identify one or two tail tests, okay. Again, this one, you need to refer to your HA. So if your HA not equal sign, so it means it's going to be two tail. So if greater than one tail right, and then less than one tail left, right? And then alpha, so alpha usually given in the question, usually, right? So if the value of alpha, okay, remember alpha can be 0.01, 0.05, or 0.1. It all depends on the question. But if the value of alpha is not given in the question, it means that automatically, all right, you need to take 0.05, because alpha, okay, alpha equal to 0.05 is like a magic number in data analysis or in statistics, all right? So this is the magic number when you are not given the value of alpha. Right. So, and then also, based on the alpha, right, you need to get the value from the table. Remember, the table for Z alpha divided by 2, right? So you need to get that value from the table. But sometimes the value is not available, you know, from the table. You need to get it from the normal table. So you already know how to do it, okay? So you can easily get the value. But, okay, if the value can be obtained from the table, you just can get it straight from the table. And then the next one, calculate the statistical test. What does it mean? So you need to use this formula right here. Okay, Z is equal to sorry, uh, x bar minus mu divided by sigma x bar. Okay, if you forget this formula, you can always refer to your normal table where the formula is actually given in the up left corner of that table, right? The first column, right? And then show all the values in the normal curve. So what you need to do, you need to draw, okay, where actually the location that you are looking for. So if it is a one tail or two tail, so where actually the area of your alpha and what is the Z value and so on. Okay, so based on this one, you will learn how to make decision, all right, whether to reject or accept H naught. And then you need to make conclusion based on your decision just now. Okay, so basically these are the steps that you need to do if you do it manually. All right, if we need to calculate manually. Right, so next one, if we use SPSS, you know, for our hypothesis testing, so we have a better condition. What does it mean? So instead of, you know, we need to perform the 6 steps, so we only have 4 steps left, because from the SPSS is very straightforward. So we don't need to do the calculation, especially for step 5 just now. So it's already given in the SPSS output, right? So again, but the assumptions will be the same. You need to know, okay, whether you need to use Z, okay, later on, and then T, we are going to learn T, and then we are going to learn F, and then chi-square later on. So it is based on the question and also the situation that we need to solve. Okay. State the HO and HA. Again, it will be the same, right? You need to know mu is equal to what, and HA, mu not equal sign greater than or less than. It will be the same. Okay, the best part, okay, that it covers, for step 4 and 5 in the manual part. So the step 3 covers that, all right? So you need to identify the significant value. Sigval means significant value, right? So again, alpha will be given in the question. If not given, then we need to take alpha equal to 0.05. Okay, in this case, the significant value is also called as P value or probability value, right? So by SPSS, call it as sigval, right? So this sigval, you need to look for it, okay, in the SPSS output. So, and then, for example, okay, the sigval given in the SPSS is 0.015, for example. And then you will see that, okay, the alpha is 0.05. So if the sigval, okay, the sigval is actually 0.015 less than 0.05, okay, so if it is less than this value, the sigval less than alpha, then we need to say that we need to reject the H naught, right? So we make decision, reject the H naught, because this value right here is less than alpha. So we need to make conclusion based on the question, okay? So I know you cannot imagine exactly, all right, what I'm saying now, but you will definitely can understand our discussion this morning when we do some exercise and also examples, right? So I just would like to remind you all, starting from Sunday next week. So please make sure you already have your SPSS installed, because we are going to use it many, many times, right? Okay, that's basically for chapter 7. Okay, so let me introduce, chapter 8, just for, like 10 minutes, 5 minutes, all right? Oh, I think I missed one slide just now. All right, hold on, hold on. Okay. Okay, I think I need to explain this one first. Right. Just now I did mention something like Z, T test, F test, and also chi-square. Okay. This is not X, all right. But actually, the way it is written is like this, chi, like K. And then, okay. So what you have learned so far, right? So you have learned all the questions that contains n is greater than 30, right? So either you take a sample from the population, but if you look at the examples that we have done so far, the n is big, large n, and greater than 30. So that's the reason we use z-test, right? So z-test basically also known as normal test, right? And what happened in our real life, okay, sometimes we have a very small n and less than 30, right? So when s, okay, I prefer to use this one as small t, all right? So if n is less than 30 or we have a small n, so we are no longer can use z-test, okay? The table that we have on page 1 something, right? Let me see. Okay, page 2, the table. Okay, 208, right? So this one is actually we use table on page 208, right? So, but then if we have small n less than 30, so we need to use table on page 209, right? For the t-test. Okay, the t-test is actually the son or daughter for z-test. So the concept will be the same. It's just that you need to use different table. And then later, we need to use ANOVA and also chi-square. So you don't have to worry much about the table. As I told you, we are going to use SPSS. So we will apply all the SPSS procedures, okay, for our data analysis for ANOVA and also the independent test in our next future chapters, right? So this is basically, right? Basically what we need to do. Okay, so chapter 8, so we'll be focused on this part right here. Okay, on this part. So we already learned this one. Okay, we already finished the Z test. Now is the time for me to introduce to you all the T test, or when we have small n in our study, right? So just a quick one, right? Okay, this one, the t-test is actually for our chapter, or sorry, chapter 8, right? So I don't want to talk more much on this topic because we are going to learn this one in chapter in on Sunday, next Sunday, all right? So so I'm going to talk about the assumption of the t distribution later on, and then what is the difference between z test and also t test, all right? So the z test basically, as we know, okay, we have the z test, and then we have t test, all right? So this one is for n greater than 30, this one n less than 30, right? And then we use table page 208, and then table page 209. Okay, all right, so I will continue this one on Sunday. Okay, so let's get ready with for our quiz. Okay, okay, so this is what you need to do for your quiz. Okay, you can start uploading, okay, your quiz questions in your e-learning at 9:30. All right, so once you can